Welcome to the Girls Marketing Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things marketing and the perfect backing track to your workday. Every week, we get up close and personal with marketers revolutionising the industry so you can learn from the best in the game. From the latest marketing trends to building a successful marketing career, no topic is off limits. At Girls in Marketing, we champion progress, inspire change, and encourage women to take the marketing world by storm. Check out our website and membership to learn more and get involved, as we'd love to welcome you to our inner circle. Right, let's dive into another episode together. Welcome back to the Girls in Marketing podcast. Today we have a super exciting episode for anyone wanting to dive deeper into the world of LinkedIn. With over 1 billion users right now, LinkedIn is thriving, and Lara Acosta has made the best use of that. On a random night in 2022, Lara created a LinkedIn account and has never looked back. With a growing following of 130,000 followers, Lara has used the platform to propel her career forward by creating her own opportunities. So far, she has founded her own agency, LA Digital, featured in Forbes, spoken internationally, and today she's joining us on the Girls in Marketing podcast. Let's dive in. So Laura, tell me a little bit about your story so far, how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so it's crazy. I moved to the UK when I was 15 from Mexico, flew 5,000 miles away from home, packed a one-way ticket flight, and I never looked back. And since then, I went to boarding school. I was very privileged to be able to go to boarding school from Mexico. And I think I've been so many different people in like that space. I was like into marketing, and then I wasn't, then I was into politics, and I wasn't, and then I reverted back to my main love, which will always be marketing, I think.
What made you book that one-way ticket?
So I think it was a lot of things. One of them was circumstantial and luck and timing. My parents always wanted me to study abroad. That was their dream. So I was very lucky that they worked so hard to be able to do that for me. And then luck, because I ended up really loving the UK. And then circumstantial, where things just happened. So it's like luck and circumstance and just me being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. And then tell me a little bit about your journey with LinkedIn then, because I think it's been a wild ride, hasn't it, really? How did it all come about, really?
So to start off, I hated LinkedIn. I thought it was the worst platform ever. You know, when you don't have any connections on LinkedIn, you log in and it's like so dreadful to see your best friend, your ex-boyfriend, your friends like successful. I'm so happy and grateful to announce that I just got a promotion at your dream job that you got rejected at. I was like, I'm so tired. It was the pandemic. And I was like, I've had it. I fell into the comparison trap of LinkedIn, where everybody's so professional and excellent. And LinkedIn will humble you more than any other platform, Instagram, TikTok, or anything, because it's not based on the lifestyle, is based on your academic accomplishments. So it just hits you so hard if you just didn't get into that job or like that graduate role. So I ended up deleting my LinkedIn account for like a year. And then I was looking for a reference to go into my master's at Exeter University. And I was like, I need to get a reference, because I didn't have anyone's email. And I ended up having to create a new LinkedIn account. And I was like, I'm going to try and make this look as smart as possible. And I never got the references from any of my teachers, by the way, but it ended up landing me the dream life that I have today.
Amazing. I think it's so true what you say about comparison, because so many people that I speak to say, I don't want to post on LinkedIn, or I don't really feel like, even broaching it because it's so scary. But I think a lot of it is about that first post, is about just stepping outside your comfort zone and doing that. What was your first ever post?
My first post is still my second most viral post. It was an introduction post where I was like, hi everyone, my name is Lara, not Laura, Clara, Sarah. And I was like, such a girly thing to say. Like, it was just like so fluffy and cute. Like, and I do powerlifting, and I just finished my VA in marketing, and I'm so excited to be here, and I'm going to be talking about marketing. So if you want to connect, let's connect. And then that post just went crazy. Like, I think it was a turning point for me, but also for my mindset toward LinkedIn, because it clearly showed that LinkedIn just lacked a lot of authenticity and just, I don't know, the dewy, like, bright eyes, like big dreams type of energy that LinkedIn kind of lacked, because it's such a professional and old platform where there's so many CEOs and so many uptight professionals that just want to talk about information and facts and everything, then there was just me like, hi, nice to meet you all. Like, you know, that moment in Legally Blonde where she goes into Harvard and she's like, hi, I'm Elle. That's how I felt.
I love that, because that first post is a lot of the times the most scariest for people, but actually can be the simplest, because you're introducing yourself, you're getting, even if you just do like an introduction or a reintroduction to yourself, I think that's a nice thing. There's nothing worse than a bad website, but setting up your own website is tricky, especially with no coding experience. I'm currently building my personal website using Hostinger, and I'm absolutely loving it. Hostinger's AI website builder is a great starting point for those of us with less coding experience. All I had to do was sum up the website I wanted in a few sentences, and AI generated a professional website in seconds. Thanks so much to Hostinger for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. You're just a few clicks away from building the website of your dreams. So go to hostinger.com/girlsinmarketing and use the code girlsinmarketing for 10% off your plan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of, I've been saying this quite a lot, but if you don't like yourself, change. And I saw the opportunity of starting into a new social media platform as a new way to reinvent myself and truly just choose, okay, how do I want to be portrayed from this day on? And that's the whole, I think, philosophy behind building a personal brand is you're rebuilding yourself in the way you want to be. It's the entire purpose of marketing as well. So what was it that I wanted to become? And then I started being it through consistently showing up on LinkedIn. So it's a marketing and professional and career decision, but it was also a very fundamentally philosophical journey as well, which is insane.
What have you learned over that journey?
So much. I think I've learned more in the last 2 years of business than I've learned in the last, 5 years of education that I've had, at university. The main thing is just like people that are dumber than you are making more money than you just because they are dumb and they're not smart enough to realize that they're trying too hard. So just letting go of those consistent beliefs that school or society attaches to you to that, oh, you're into marketing since when? Like that's what a friend would say when you try to do something, or like a teacher, like, oh, you're not going to go into that science degree. Like you're meant to be doing this. That's what you've been doing all the time. And I was like, no, I'm into this right now. So what? Like, watch me.
I love that. That kind of like attitude. I think that's so refreshing, because so many people are, I think, scared to let go of those kind of stereotypes or the way people kind of think of themselves, because that has been kind of put on them for so long, especially in like education and stuff like that. Talking a little bit more about LinkedIn, obviously you've grown a following of like over 120,000 followers now. How have you kind of continued that momentum? Like what has been the pivotal points and like things that you've done to gain that momentum behind your profile?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I'm still scared. I'm scared every single day, but I'm more scared of the fact that not doing something might lead to like not my desired outcome. So I'd rather be scared and doing something that I know is going to pay off eventually than be scared and not do something and know that I'm going to stay exactly in the right path that I've always been. So if you're scared right now to start your LinkedIn journey or personal branding or anything, just do it, because the payoff is always higher when the risk is bigger. And then with my momentum on LinkedIn, I just keep on showing up. I fell in love with the platform. So kind. It's so educational heavy, which to me is everything, because I grew up watching courses online. All my education of marketing is literally from the internet. It's not from university or anything, it's the internet. So seeing how I've been able to now take all of that and actually do it myself and give back has been so wonderful and exciting. And people truly see that. There's a very big lack of community in the world right now. Everybody feels lonely. After the pandemic, in this post-pandemic world, everybody's looking for someone to follow or relate to, and being able to create some sort of safe space for girls like me 3 years ago that didn't know what to do, didn't feel confident enough, felt scared, and just consistently being shut down by people, and creating a space for them like anyone, and being like, hey, no, I went through that specific thing and now I am because I did this and this and this. Here's how you can do the same. Come here and like I'll help you. That's kind of what's kept the momentum, is community first always. It's not just building a following, it's building fans and people that truly care about you and that relate to you.
I think a lot of brands are catching on to that as well now, aren't they? That's something that I've spoken to a lot of brands about is, you know, how do you build a community? Because I think for so long, social media marketing has been about getting the followers, the likes, the comments, the shares and stuff. But actually it's about how, as you said, how do you build that brand loyalty? And it's the same with having like a personal profile, if you will, you know, building that personal brand. How do you continue to do that? Well, it's the people that are behind it, right? So something that I wanted to talk about was brands on LinkedIn, because I mean, there's some brands that are doing amazing at the moment and they're really leaning into community. They're leaning into like everything that the platform wants them to. But I wondered if you had any kind of favourite brands and why they were your favourite.
I don't have any favorite brands, and this, like, I think is a testament for personal brand. I don't see the brands anymore. I consume the personal brands, so the creators behind the CEOs and creators now. When you said community and people catching on, I instantly thought about Grace Beverly. I've been following her for the last 8 years since I was at university, and I followed and unfollowed her because I was like, no, she's changed so much. But now I'm like, okay, I get it because I'm in business as well. But her is a testament of how building a community will get you to heights than just having followers. We've seen her grow. We've seen her stories, like the magic of storytelling. We saw her struggle and almost burn out at university while she's finishing her finals, to then in 2 years building a multi-million-dollar company. And we saw it live, and that's the true power of brand. It's not just, hey, I've got to sell you something. Here's what it does for you. No, it's, hey, I built this because of this. This is what it did for me. This is what it could do for you. And this is what it looks like in so many different other people. And you're building this movement of people that completely support the vision. And that creates loyal customers. And obviously that for business is insane. Like, it's like guaranteed MRR. So yeah.
Well, I don't think there's a Girls Marketing podcast episode where we don't speak about Grace Beverly. So I actually appreciate that you brought her up rather than me, because it's normally one of us. But it's really interesting because I think with Grace Beverly, she is one of those people that she has built brand off the back of her own pain points, where, for example, like with the fitness brand, with, you know, Shreddy and all of those sorts of things, she's kind of had those pain points as a person. So she's almost like her consumer. She knows the pain point, and then she's built a business. Whereas I think with a lot of business owners nowadays, it's almost kind of like they just build a business for the sake of building a business. And I often think now, you know, in Gen Z and all of that, people can see through that. They love like an authentic founder as well, which I think I love why you mentioned Grace Beverly, because people believe in her mission because she is
the sponsor of Tala.
Not right now, maybe one day. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about LinkedIn and how people can leverage LinkedIn, because obviously personal branding is huge. So when it comes to personal branding, then obviously it's not just about LinkedIn, it's about other platforms as well. How do you kind of manage having that presence on LinkedIn and your personal brand in general, like the whole thing?
Okay. So if you want to build a personal brand, the first thing you need to do is solve your own problem, and then you sell the solution. That's what I did and how I built such a massive personal brand in less than 2 years. I had 0 followers, 0 posts, and 0 connections in 2022. Today, I've got over 120,000 followers. I built a brand based on absolutely nothing. I had no connections in the industry, had nothing. And the one thing I did was solving a problem that was mine, consistently talk about it from my own point of view. I educated myself on it through educating others. And then I grew a personal brand that was trusted, loved, and known just because I kept on doing that. So if you think that to build a personal brand, you need to have all the experience in the world, you need to have all the connections, you don't. You just need to be consistently showing up, educating people in that simple thing that you want to educate others. And even if you don't know about it, you're learning more through trying to educate others than not doing it. So it's a net positive to anyone anyway. And the easiest way to start is combine something you like with something that you're interested into getting in the industry too. So if you like fashion and if you like marketing, 5 ways Tala revolutionized the industry. That's a LinkedIn post right there. And then consistently doing that will give you the essential elements for you to start posting in any platform. Doesn't need to be LinkedIn, can be Instagram, whatever. Feel confident enough in your abilities to explain something that seems complex at the time. Then you deconstruct it. And then you remove your own mental barriers to, okay, I can actually do this. And people are actually resonating with this. Because if you're talking about fashion, if you talk about Grace Beverly and we both see it, we'll like it immediately. Mm-hmm. So you'll find your community through that. But if you never start, you'll never know.
Mm-hmm. And what you said earlier that I really resonated with and I loved is that you don't need to be an expert, because I think so many people, when they think of LinkedIn and personal branding, they think, but I'm not like a thought leader. I'm just, I'm a student, or I'm just a recent graduate, or I'm just working in a 9 to 5. So these people have that barrier because they kind of think that, oh, well, I don't feel like I am a thought leader. But what you just said proves that you don't have to be, an expert in every certain element of marketing or whatever. You have your own experiences, your own likes and dislikes, and that's something that you can talk about and create content about, and that's authenticity, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm so tired of these labels that I think it's the older generation that subjects us to, oh, you're not an expert, why are you talking about it? Yet, like last week I got a comment from like this angry CEO. He's like, why are you trying to get all these people to talk about their expertise when they're not experts? They need to get experience. And I was like, if I followed your advice, I wouldn't be where I am today, because you're trying to scare me off from my true potential. And that true potential came from me actually doing the scary things, which was trying. I'm not faking it till I'm making it. I'm being it till I become it. And that's completely different. I never said I was an expert. I never claimed to have all these like awards. I was just like, hey, this is me. I'm trying to learn about this, and I'm teaching you what I do along the way. And that's the best thing you can do. I was like, I literally just graduated university. I just recently got my degree, and I built my personal brand from my university kitchen. I wasn't a big time CEO. I wasn't a big time founder. I didn't have all this funding. I didn't have anything. I just had one thing, and that was the need to consistently push forward to the dream that I wanted to get in that career that I wanted to pursue, chase. And I was getting rejected from all these jobs. I wasn't getting into graduate programs. I was like getting rejected left, right, and center. And I had no other choice than actually just market myself. And my personal brand has gotten me further than any CV could ever do it. But I wouldn't have known if I limited myself to I need to be an expert to talk about it, so I won't.
What are the 3 C's of LinkedIn then, your framework?
Clarity, consistency, and community.
So let's explain them. Let's unpack that a little bit.
I was talking to my friend Yasmin Alec. He's a very big time LinkedIn influencer as well, and a copywriter, and amongst other things, amazing dad. And we were trying to see what was my unique selling point with LinkedIn. Because, there's so many people that the typical offer, I help you get 10,000 followers in 60 days without X. Or like, let's grow your LinkedIn. And I was like, I don't want to sell that. I'm not about that. I'm not about the specific thing. Like, it's just not that. I don't believe that. And I don't think it's possible to just get a specific amount of following in a specific amount of days and sell it. But what I can do is I can teach someone how to build a community. I can give you clarity, and I can just help you be consistent. I built an entire program based on those 3 C's. I give them a community. I give them clarity on where they need to go and what they need to do on personal branding, on networking, on marketing, copywriting, monetization, anything. I can give clarity on that. And then with the consistency, I'm keeping up with them like a fitness coach, shouting at them, being like, hey, are you on LinkedIn today? Are you posting? And then the community aspect, which what I was referring to earlier, the reason why a lot of people quit on LinkedIn is because they just don't feel supported enough. And even me, I consistently need people around me to, check if something's good, or like check if I'm doing well, or like, how do you did that read well? Because I don't know, you need someone else to look at your stuff. So those 3 things are massive for LinkedIn growth.
Yeah, I especially love the support piece, because I think that is so true. When you are doing anything in marketing, and that's something that I found is when you don't have that support, you feel almost kind of like oh yeah, like lonely. You feel like, oh, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. Whereas when someone reads it and say, that's really good, that's the instant barrier gone. You know, you're like, okay, and instantly you have that confidence. So I think sometimes it's about accountability, but often it's just about someone else saying that is actually good and you are doing well and that reads nicely. And I think that because of that kind of thing that LinkedIn has, where there's a lot of people talking about a lot of stuff, people almost kind of feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm qualified to talk about these things. Whereas, as we've just said, you don't have to be an expert to post on LinkedIn. But research has shown a little bit about like polls on LinkedIn. So I'm eager to get your thoughts on, is it worth doing polls? Because the engagement is quite good on polls at the moment, and research has showed that that's something that kind of LinkedIn are pushing and leaning into. So what are your thoughts on?
I'm always super careful when looking at data, because I don't know when they collected the data, who's it for specifically. And on LinkedIn, it just depends on what pocket of the industry you're in. I've never posted a poll, so I couldn't give you first-hand experience, but I've experienced with my clients, and polls, like, they get the most engagement because they're like the most engageable things, because you pick and choose what you want to do. But ideally, if you want a highly engaged personal brand, it's not about the format, it's about what you're actually writing about. Your videos could be the most engaged one for you. Just text-only content could be the most engaged one for me. And then carousels could be the most engaged one for someone else. So it's not about the format that's trending. It's about what's trending for you specifically. Okay. And understanding, okay, testing it out, seeing which one works best and what you feel most comfortable doing. A lot of people don't do video because it doesn't perform well. But I've seen people like Beverly and the guy from Lux Collective, Ben Gallagher, they do very well on video, but that's because that's just their main strength. So it's not about the format, it's about you.
Yeah, and it's because it is interesting when I've seen people talking about different formats on LinkedIn, and I'm always kind of skeptical because, as you say, sometimes certain audiences and communities enjoy certain formats more. And it's also, as you say, what you're most comfortable with, because if you're comfortable only really writing like text posts or putting photos on rather than video, then you should lean into that. Don't let that be another barrier for you to be posting. So on kind of a side note, I want to talk a little bit about social media in general. Something that is huge on LinkedIn, but also in social media, is storytelling. And I think, what do you think the importance is with storytelling and social media? Because it is big at the moment and so many people are leaning into that, both from a personal branding and social media perspective.
Yeah, storytelling is the most important thing you could do for your personal brand. Studies have shown that the best way for someone to learn something is not through just facts, it's actually through telling a story. It's been scientifically proven. So when we think about Nike, when we think about Adidas, Dovey, I don't know what their latest outfit, like shoes are, but I remember that time that I saw a commercial about Serena Williams and how it made me feel when I was 17 and how I've been loyal to that brand for that long just because of that thing. So stories are incredibly important because you're giving your audience a reason to relate back to you. You're giving them confidence that you understand them. You're giving them something to remember you for besides what you're selling, and you're making them feel seen and heard, which is, again, now more than ever is so necessary because we need connection. Brands need to connect more with people instead of trying to get more sales, because that's, at the end of the day, you're trying to build that long-lasting brand. It's not about the quick sale, it's about the long-term effect.
Yeah. So there's obviously huge brands like you've mentioned that have these stories and people always talk about them and relate to them. But if we think about people who might be listening today that are marketers or aspiring marketers who work for normal brands, normal companies, do their brands have a story? Like, how do you find your story as a brand? Because that's something that I speak a lot to people about, because I almost kind of feel like, does every brand have a story? How do you find that story?
I find that we're seeing a lot on TikTok actually with even people like Alex Earl. She's the standard girl, but we find it so interesting to see her do the ordinary things that everybody does. Because again, people are truly looking for someone to relate to in whatever stage they're in, maybe a CEO or like a business owner, or like even girls like us who are just interested in doing all the things. So you don't have to have like the 0 to a million story. You don't have to become going from homeless to multimillionaire. It can be like, this is how we solve the problem in our business today. Here's how you can do the same, and here's how you can learn from our lessons. We lost $100,000 on stock because we ordered the wrong legging type, and here's what we learned, and here was the journey. That's it. It doesn't have to be like, oh, we made so many millions of dollars, we went on Dragon's Den this weekend, or we got a Grammy. Like, no, it can be just what you did yesterday. Just find a pain point, find a way to make the audience curious about reading it, and then find a way to connect both and make it short, simple, and attractive to listen to or read. That's it.
Yeah. And I think the same. Like, every brand does have a story, but I think as a marketer, if you are working in a certain context, it's hard to find that. So yes. I do love that advice. I want to talk about creating your own opportunities, because I know that that's something that you're obviously a huge advocate for. Now you're the founder of, LA Digital. What does that entail? How did that kind of come about? Obviously, with your journey with LinkedIn, tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I think if you're a student, or if you're unemployed, or if you don't know what to start with your online business, a service-based business is the best way to start, because it has zero upfront cost. I had no money invested, and in my first year, I made $100,000 just based on the service business that doesn't have any costs at all. So that's why I started the agency. It's not because I always wanted to have an agency. It was like my grand dream, but it was the easiest business to start with absolutely no money and absolutely no experience. And then from LinkedIn, I started working with insanely talented CEOs, people that I would pay money to actually be coached by and mentored. And they were paying me to write content for them. And while I was writing content for them, I was learning from them because they were telling me their experience. And what happened, I understood pricing models, I understood systems like SOPs, whatever, anything that they were interested in, I was learning and absorbing. And then that catapulted me into like a growth journey. Okay, I'm going to change the agency model. This is how I can earn more money by working less hours. Here's how to hire. And then by that, I ended up building my personal brand off the back of it, building my business expertise on the top of it, and then being able to do everything else and kind of like scale up to what we have today, which is insane.
What have been some like career highlights for you so far?
Well, I work with like this multi-7-figure entrepreneur who's so cool, and he's sold like amazing drink companies I can't mention, and he's just understanding that there's nothing makes anyone special. It's just their ability to just go for it, and it's so simple and so cliche, but when you see it in someone, it just clicks for you. And that was one of the main things. The next thing was, being able to build my brand from zero with $0, no website, no logo, and breaking out of that idea that I was taught in business school that in order to start a business, you need to register at a company, and you need to choose if you want to be a sole trader or LLC, and you need to choose your logo and your brand colors, and think about all of these things. And while everybody's busy doing all of those things, I was busy actually making money and getting those clients. And then here we are. I think that is just the consistent mindset shifts of, if you actually learn something and then do it immediately, you're actually going to get the quickest results. It's not about just learning, it's about executing immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where sometimes people get it like wrong, because they spend so much time learning and not any time, because it's like learning but experimenting at the same time, because often we learn so much, but the stuff that we learn is like out of date already, especially with the industry, because marketing is so fast paced. And that's something that I've said quite a lot, is that this industry, marketing, is so fast paced, but the traditional notions of like education and learning are so far behind all of that sort of thing.
I agree.
But you were featured on Forbes, which is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How did that come about?
6 years ago, I was very nice to one person. I was rooting for her at a powerlifting competition. Turns out she's also an exited founder and a full study under 30. And then a year ago, I reached out to her. I was very stressed about the agency. I was still finishing my master's at university, and I needed some help. And I was like, who can I reach out to that's a woman in business and it's also an athlete like me? I was like, trying to see my connections. I was like, her. And we'd only spoken briefly. I always admired her because she was so strong. She lifts 170 kilos Okay. Randomly while building a business. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try and get a coffee chat. So I asked her, hey, can we do this? And she said, of course. And I was like all nervous. And we started discussing what I was doing. She was very impressed. Obviously, the last time she saw me was at the gym. And then she told me about what she was doing. She's building an AI tool called Coach Fox, which is amazing for creators. And then she was like, look, I really like what you're doing. What about I featured you in Forbes and you helped me do this thing on LinkedIn? And I was like, cool. Completely forgot about the Forbes thing. I was just so excited to be in her presence and like just talk to her. Like I admired her. And then next thing I know, I wake up and there's like 4 or 5 Forbes article in my feed. And I kept on refreshing and I was like, no, this is not real. I can't believe it. And there it was. So it served as a massive lesson for me that the best thing you can do as a marketer is literally be kind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. So just to kind of finish up, and I think this is something that I speak to a lot of people about, I'd love to get your advice for anyone who is looking to get into the industry right now. I feel like this whole episode's been a really good gem of one for anyone who does want to, but do you have any kind of specific advice that you would say to those people?
Building a personal brand is going to be the biggest asset going forwards in the 2024, 2025, 2026. So you need to start building a personal brand today. People like Beverly, Kylie Jenner, anyone else, they have personal brands. It's not just their businesses. So if you're a student, you have time to spend on the internet and look for things that you can talk about. If you're unemployed, you also have time to research topics, post about them on the internet and build your brand from there. You're not losing anything by posting. You're either going to end up making friends, going to end up educating yourself, maybe educating other people. And the best thing that could happen, you grow a massive business just because you posted that one time. So remove all the friction around you, whether it's your friends or the limiting beliefs in your head. Just start doing it. Commit to 30 minutes of writing and posting a day. Put it, like literally time block it right now if you're anyone that's watching this, and make time for it to educate yourself on the platforms, educate yourself in the topic that you want to be known for, and just show up for yourself, because that's the biggest gift you can give yourself, is trusting that you can do it.
What a nice note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us today,
Thank you for
Lara.
having me.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Girls in Marketing podcast. It was a good one, wasn't it? If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review and rating of the podcast and share it with someone who may find it useful. Your support really does go a long way. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode, but in the meantime, keep up to date with Girls in Marketing over on social media and our website. We'll pop some helpful links in the description.